Hi, I'm Gabrielle Lichterman, founder of Hormonology, creator of the Hormone Horoscope apps, and author of the award-winning book 28 Days, What Your Cycle Reveals About Your Moods, Health, and Potential. Today, I'm going to talk to you about a new study that links a worsened premenstrual phase and menstrual cramps with pandemic stress. Let's face it, the COVID-19 pandemic has been stressful and it's been dragging on, creating even more stress. You could have been touched personally by the COVID-19 pandemic. For instance, maybe you got sick or someone you love got sick or even passed away. Maybe you care for the ill. Or maybe you just got caught up in the ripple effects of a global pandemic, losing your job or just not being able to find groceries or other goods. It's been a challenge. Well, this kind of event can cause post-traumatic stress. In fact, a new study from the journal Psychiatry Research shows that as many as 22% of us could be experiencing post-traumatic stress due to the COVID-19 pandemic. And if you're one, then I want to tell you about another new study out of Kindai University in Japan that found a direct link between COVID-19 pandemic and a worsened premenstrual phase and worse menstrual cramps. Now, this study was interesting because it sort of piggybacked a study that had been going on for several years already. Researchers in Japan had been surveying high school girls about their menstrual health, about their premenstrual phase and menstrual cramps, because they wanted to find out more about how menstrual health impacted regular school activity, which is great, actually. Well, because they had all that information from prior years, they were able to do more surveys during the pandemic and compare how premenstrual symptoms and menstrual cramp pain intensity, looked next to pre-pandemic levels. And what they found was astounding. They discovered that in the students who had post-traumatic stress due to the COVID-19 pandemic, those girls had worse premenstrual symptoms and they had worse menstrual cramps compared to pre-pandemic levels. Now, this didn't hold true for those students who didn't experience that post-traumatic stress. So there was a direct link between that post-traumatic stress, that intense amount of stress, that kind of stress that goes on, it's chronic, it lingers for longer than a month. It can give you nightmares and insomnia and heightened anxiety and fear and fatigue and feeling overwhelmed. That's the type of post-traumatic stress these students were experiencing and that many of us are experiencing. It's not just regular, normal, everyday stress, it's a heightened state of stress. And so the study found a direct link between those students who had post-traumatic stress and worse premenstrual symptoms and worse menstrual cramps. Now, this study didn't go into what caused it, but previous research has pointed to inflammation from stress itself being a contributing factor to mood issues such as depression and menstrual cramps, because muscle tension increases contractions in the uterus. And when you have that tightened tension, it makes menstrual cramps worse. So what can you do with this information? First, if you've noticed that your premenstrual phase has gotten more challenging, you're weeping, you're anxious, you're sleepless, and you also have more intense menstrual cramps than you typically do, these could potentially be signs that you're challenged with post-traumatic stress, potentially from the COVID-19 pandemic. If this is the case, don't try to go it alone. Seek out help. Go to a therapist, talk to your doctor, speak to a religious leader, speak to a mentor, a teacher, a parent, a friend, talk with someone. Try to find ways to cope with the stress. For instance, of course, unplug from social media and the news. and distract yourself with something that is uplifting, such as making music. That's what I like to do. It's my husband likes to do. Making art, gardening, anything that makes you feel uplifted. So the good news is, if there is any good news to report, is that this same study found that students who had regular stress, not post-traumatic stress, did not see a rise in premenstrual symptoms and menstrual cramp pain. This suggests potentially that if you can bring that stress level down, if you can find coping skills and ways to, deal with that stress, then potentially you could bring those premenstrual symptoms back into a lower state and, ease those menstrual cramps so that they are at pre-pandemic levels. So I hope this helps, and if you need help, please go get it. There's no reason to go it alone. This is very trying times. These are unprecedented times. I'm certain you've heard that a million times before, but it is true. These are unprecedented. So if you need help, please go get it.